Good morning, muy buenos dias everyone, good morning. It is a happy and beautiful day for the city of Tucson, and we special ordered the weather this morning for the Secretary and the Senator announcement this morning. My name is Regina Romero, I'm the Mayor of the city of Tucson, and welcome everyone, especially Secretary Buttigieg and his team to our beautiful, wonderful city. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are standing here today on the lands traditionally stewarded by the Tohono people since time immemorial and inhabited by the Pascuayaqui people for thousands of years. I would like to especially welcome Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg and all of his team. Let's give him a warm, beautiful Tucson welcome. And all of our elected leaders that are joining us today, particularly Senator Mark Kelly and Representative Ann Kirkpatrick. I know that we have an incredible congressional delegation that works day in, day out for all of us. I would like to acknowledge also that our representatives representing Congressman Grijalva here, as well as Congressman O'Halloran, and Senator Sinema's office is well represented as well. Thank you also to our speakers, Vanessa Gallego and Willie Blake, our community speakers that do all of the legwork and groundwork for communities like Tucson to be such thriving, beautiful cities. So thank you to our community speakers and our community that joins us today. When you take a look around you, you see railroad tracks, a bridge in need of repair, unsafe passage for pedestrians and cyclists for sure. But if you take a look beyond what you see right here, right now, with this very loud traffic, you will take a look at our amazing, beautiful Sonoran Desert. The mountains surrounding us, gorgeous saguaros, and so much more. You will feel the energy of a vibrant city with deep history and rich culture and heritage. You will also see the challenges of disinvestment and communities and neighborhoods divided by railroad tracks and streets. Look a little bit beyond and you will see even more separation caused by the construction of the freeway. Each of these challenges, seen through the lens of investment, equity, sustainability, and connection, offer us an opportunity for a vision for Tucson's future. A $25 million raise grant is what we are here to celebrate this morning. This $25 million is dedicated to the 22nd Street Bridge Revitalization Project. And I would like, Mr. Secretary, to send my sincere appreciation to President Biden for leading on the bipartisan infrastructure law, and to our entire congressional delegation for their hard work and passing such an important historic investment in our nation's capital, in our nation's infrastructure. Yes, much needed, much needed. And of course, congratulations to our team here in the city of Tucson for applying for such highly competitive grant. This required significant cooperation and collaboration with Pima County government, our regional partners in the RTA, the Union Pacific Railroad, and Arizona Department of Transportation, and now our partnership with our federal government. This project required us to see the possibilities of people and neighborhoods connected and safe. A vision for school buses and Suntram buses, hopefully electric, and emergency vehicles able to access an important east-west corridor directly without detours. A vision of bicyclists and bike lanes and pedestrians on safe sidewalks along with a dedicated bike and pedestrian bridge. A vision of more equity and economic growth in a part of our city that has been historically disinvested and grapples with the challenges of the results of that lack of investment. Building these new connecting bridges does so much more than it may seem. This investment will help us to improve the quality of life for Tucson residents who have lived with safety risks, heavy trucks through their neighborhoods, few options for non-motorized travel, and separation from them to the University of Arizona and downtown Tucson. It will improve safety around the railroad infrastructure, reduce crashes and response times, and mitigate other safety issues. Tucson is one of the fastest warming cities in the United States, and this particular area is among the hardest hits. The environmental sustainability benefits of this project are significant. From reducing transportation-related air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, to reducing the vehicle miles traveled, to promoting efficiencies. This project takes a 1960s era mindset of how to move vehicles and brings it to the 21st century. This investment gives our community, our city, our Tucson, a greater opportunity to be the thriving, sustainable, vibrant desert city we want to be. So congratulations to my colleagues, to the city of Tucson. I want to thank again Senator Kelly for all of his hard work making this a reality. Secretary Buttigieg for coming to Tucson to kick off this effort. And it is my great pleasure to introduce to you all a wonderful community activist, a small business owner, and a co-founder of Families United Gaining Accessibility, FUGA, Vanessa Gallego, to the podium.
Buenos dias, good morning. My name is Vanessa Gallego. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm a second-generation scrap metal recycler for my family's company that's located on 22nd Street. So we've been keeping metals in the supply chain, and we have been using the roads for 37 years to make sure that commodities stay locally and nationally. As a mobility advocate with Families United Gaining Accessibility, we work and live in the historic underserved communities, areas that have been disinvested on the south and west side of Tucson. And we bring to light the barriers that our community faces when it comes to mobility. To remove those barriers, we need investments now that help mobility for the present and future generations. What we build today shapes our spaces that we live and navigate. Investments such as these address long-standing inequalities in our road and help communities connect safely with multimodal streets for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists like me. This grant is crucial for bridging those gaps and creating accessible streets for all in Tucson. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Now we'll introduce a longtime community activist and advocate for the South Side, Willie Blake.
Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see each and every one of you here. You could have been somewhere else, but you choose to come here, and thank you. First, I wanted to say for 34 years I was in transportation in the trucking industry, and you see all these trucks passing by going over this bridge. Well, when you see two trailers hooked together, each trailer has at least 20,000 pounds. Going over these bridges that you see, I said there's 20,000 pounds in each trailer, plus the tractor that's pulling it. So that's a lot of weight. Is that a lot of weight? So don't even think. It is good that we're going to do this bridge. It's not just going to be a bridge, but look at how many people is going to put to work so they can take care of their families. So I'm proud to see the Honorable Mayor take on this project. It is good that she take on this project. Now, I want to say this to you now. I think about a week ago I was on that bridge. And while I was up there, I felt that bridge shaking like this. You know, I was in California when they failed. I started thinking, man, I need to get off of this bridge. You know, so to me, this is a great project to repair this bridge. It's going to do a lot of things. Smooth the traffic out going north, west, and south. All the truckers who come in from out of town, they're going to see a brand new face on our bridges. And I'm just proud of this project. So to our Honorable Mayor and all of you who are responsible in transportation, be happy, don't worry, be happy, and be glad of this project. Thank you.
Well, this was a group effort, Willie. Of course, I am a huge bug to the senator when it comes to the projects that the city of Tucson applies for, but I do want to recognize that this was an incredible regional effort with our regional partners, and then of course Council Member Richard Fimbres that is here with us, that represents the area. A huge advocate for many years, has been pushing for the passage of this project. So it is my incredible pleasure to introduce to you all someone that you know, someone that we all love, that represents Tucson fiercely in Congress, and that is an incredible partner to the citizens of Tucson, Pima County, and her district, Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. It's such an honor and privilege to be here today, and with our senator, and Willie, thank you for your remarks. I mean, this was definitely a collaborative effort. It took everybody, with their oars in the water, rowing in the same direction to get this done. And I want to especially honor the chairman from the Tohono O'odham. Thank you. It's good to see you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you today, and I'm so glad you're here. And Richard, good to see you again too. Yeah. I just saw Gabby on my way over here. She was on her bicycle, and I said, that just epitomizes what we're doing here today. I mean, we want transportation. We want to be able to get around town. We want mobility. And so, it's just a real honor to work on this project together. I have prepared remarks, but I'm not gonna use them, because I just want to speak from the heart, because it's so good to see everybody. And again, thank everyone. Thank you for working together. It shows you that we can work together and get things done. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I'm serious when I say that she is an incredible partner. Our congressional delegation is just incredible in fighting to bring funds to Southern Arizona and to the city of Tucson. And I'm so grateful and lucky to be mayor in a time where we have such an incredible team. Thank you all. And now it is my great pleasure to call up to the mic. I don't have to introduce, because you all know Senator Mark Kelly. He has an incredible career in serving this nation, and we are lucky that Arizonans selected to send him to the U.S. Senate in D.C. to represent our great state. He understands the value of fighting for working families. He understands what it means to our economy to invest in our infrastructure, understands that it is urgent we work on climate action and resiliency, is an incredible advocate for the state of Arizona, and most recently helped pass the bipartisan infrastructure law just actually this week. This past week, Sunday, voted on the Inflation Reduction Act that will continue investing in climate resiliency strategies, in working families to help their pocketbooks. And so I could go on and on and on about what he has done in terms of his votes and support. And of course, I have to say, him and I call each other when we need to, and I'm sorry, Senator, that I bug you so much, but he is an incredible partner for the city of Tucson, for Southern Arizona, for the entire state, and our very own Tucson resident, Senator Mark Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for bugging me so we could get this done. Very helpful. Let me start by saying it was almost exactly a year ago when I was returning to Arizona after voting on the floor of the United States Senate for this bipartisan infrastructure law. And I was part of a small group of Republicans and Democrats that worked some long hours into the night sometimes to make this historic investment in rebuilding our failed infrastructure across this country. And let me say it wasn't easy. You know, I find it so important that we do stuff in a bipartisan way. That's not always the easy way. But the results, I'm convinced, are always much better for the American people. And in the end, we got this done. Republicans and Democrats working together to put the politics aside. To put the politics aside and focus on solving real problems for Arizona and for the rest of the country. So today I'm really glad to have Secretary Buttigieg here in our hometown of Tucson to celebrate some of these results that are coming to Arizona from this infrastructure law. And thanks to our bipartisan bill and Secretary Buttigieg's leadership, we're announcing today that the City of Tucson will be receiving grant funding to rebuild this 22nd Street Bridge. How many of you folks drive over this thing? A lot of you. I don't recommend it. You know, Gabby and I, we don't live far from here. And, you know, we've known about this bridge and how it's been needed to be replaced for a long time. And we're not the only ones. I don't think this was mentioned yet today. This is kind of important. You know, right now, today, school buses, ambulances, delivery trucks are not allowed to go over this bridge. It's not permitted because it's not safe. And that deprives our community of access to city services and timely help in cases of emergency. And kids on a school bus, they've got to take a longer route to get to school and to get home. There aren't good options to get around this thing. The city's been working on this for nearly 15 years to replace this bridge. And there was always a reason why this project could not be completed until today. And it's a tribute to Mayor Ramiro's leadership and to the tireless support of this community and advocates like Willie and Vanessa. And to the Pima County Board of Supervisors, and to many more in our community that we're standing here today to announce this historic award. And it was made possible by this bipartisan infrastructure law. This is one of 4 Arizona projects that are receiving these raised grants today. There's also a multimodal planning project in Navajo County, road upgrades in La Paz County, and the next step of the Rio Reimagined project in Phoenix. And that was a project that was so important to someone I really looked up to, a predecessor of mine in this Senate seat, his Senate seat, Senator John McCain. So I'm so glad that that was part of the RAISE grant process and received an award today as well. I was on the phone with Ambassador McCain about this just yesterday. So each of these projects, they're going to transform their communities, and they're going to create jobs. And there's so much more to come. Our infrastructure law won't just help repair aging roads and bridges. It's going to expand access to affordable high-speed internet. It's going to modernize our ports of entry, starting very soon. Ports of entry on the Arizona-Mexico border that are so important to our economy here in the state of Arizona. And it's also going to make our state more resilient to drought. Upgrading our infrastructure is so critical to supporting our state's continued growth and success, especially as more and more renewable energy and microchip companies choose to expand their operations right here in Arizona. And that's the result of the CHIPS Act that we just passed recently, the Bipartisan CHIPS Act. So we need this infrastructure. We've got tens of thousands of new high-paying jobs coming to the state of Arizona that do not require a 4-year degree. I'm with you, Willie. This is a big deal. It's important to bring down costs. It's important for our national security. So, Mr. Secretary, on behalf of everybody here, on behalf of the city of Tucson, let me just say we're grateful to have you here today to announce these critical investments in the future of our state. And we hope to have you back really soon for more critical investments to help transform Arizona's infrastructure. So with that, Mr. Secretary, thank you again. And I know Gabby was so excited to see the Secretary that she rode her bike down to where we were meeting down the street to catch him on her 1-hour bike ride. So thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here.
Good morning. What a great day. And what a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much to everybody who's joining. Thank you, Senator Kelly. I'll have more to say about Senator Kelly in a moment. I want to thank the advocates like Willie, like Vanessa, who have had this vision for such a long time and made the case for it. I want to recognize and thank your excellent mayor, Mayor Romero, at a time when the work of local leadership has only become even more demanding, even more important. And I hope that that difficult, demanding job of mayor is just a little bit easier when you have an administration that has your back in Washington. We're here to help you succeed every way that we can. I want to thank Representative Kirkpatrick for your leadership and for how much you care for this community, and it shows in so many ways. We're so lucky to be represented by her. To all of the local and state leadership, we have county leadership here, we have tribal leadership. Thank you, leaders from the Tohono O'odham people, the Pasquayaki tribal council members who are here, others from the tribal communities, state representatives who are here, who are such an important part of the story of how this future vision for transportation and for a better life in this region is advancing. And in particular, I do want to thank Senator Mark Kelly for everything that he's done to make this possible. He and Senator Sinema were central players in negotiating this bipartisan infrastructure law that is directly funding projects like the fantastic one that we're celebrating today. And they did it on a bipartisan basis at a time when people have said you couldn't do anything on a bipartisan basis in Washington. The president believes in it. I believe in it. Most people believe in it. But a lot of commentators turn up their nose at the idea that you could come together and get things done. And yet here we are with clear bipartisan priorities, just like that CHIPS and Science Act that the senator worked on, which is going to help bring more manufacturing to the U.S. and improve our supply chains. Just like that work on burn pits that cuts across politics. Politics slowed it down a little bit, but that bipartisan vote took place. I was honored to be there yesterday when the president signed that bill. And even though it didn't get a bipartisan vote in the Senate, the Inflation Reduction Act is certainly a bipartisan priority among the American people who understand, no matter what party you grew up in, why it's a good idea for Medicare to be able to negotiate drug prices, why it's a good idea to make sure that we can breathe cleaner air, why it's a good idea to make sure that if someone is a wealthy person cheating on their taxes, that there's accountability for that so the rest of us don't have to pick up the difference. That is something that is well understood among the American people. And again, I'm thankful to Senator Kelly and the others who helped get it done. And again, that bipartisan infrastructure law directly makes this good news possible. So we're announcing important funding for Tucson and projects in 165 other communities across the country through our RAISE program. And when you look at the community's applications for funding, when you speak with community leaders, you can feel that this is not just about technical matters, it is a matter of passion. And I don't always think emotion when you think infrastructure. And when it works well, you don't have to get very upset about infrastructure. But when there's something that doesn't work, when something isn't getting the job done, all of us feel it. But communities know what they need. And part of the philosophy of this RAISE program is that the designs, the plans, the concepts don't all have to come from Washington, but more of the funding should. And that's what we're here to deliver today. What we're launching today, over $2.2 billion across the country, is the biggest investments in communities in the history of this program. Yeah, we can hear it for that. And what we have here in Tucson is a great example. The 22nd Street Bridge is part of a critical corridor between downtown Tucson and a number of historic and often disadvantaged communities to the east. But this vital bridge is in rough shape. Since 2005, weight restrictions have forced trucks, transit buses, school buses, emergency vehicles to detour through the Keno Parkway and the Barraza Aviation Parkway to avoid that bridge. That means kids losing time every day on their way to school, people losing sleep, parents heading to work on Suntran buses, spending up to 30 minutes more than they would if the bridge were in good working order, trucks having to go through low-income neighborhoods bringing noise and emissions. Freight lines below the bridge even, limited by the current configuration of that bridge, and a bottleneck for everybody. Wasting time and money and making travel more dangerous. In the past 5 years, 141 crashes here, 90 on the detour route. And the community has been working towards addressing these issues for over a decade and secured most but not all of the funding to do it. So this year, the city of Tucson, with Senator Kelly's support and support from the other leaders you see here, also applied for those federal funds. And that's why today we are delighted to formally announce that we are putting in the final $25 million to help make this project happen and complete that bridge. And once it's complete, people who drive or walk or bike from east to west will be able to do so more safely and more quickly, getting to jobs and parks and loved ones across the city. People have been told to anticipate new direct Suntran routes crossing the bridge for the first time in years, 110 buses a day. We expect 120 school buses to cross the bridge daily, saving students time. Fewer crashes and less pollution. And more goods moving more quickly and efficiently by truck and rail, which is part of not just our supply chain concerns, but part of the fight against inflation, because it keeps shipping costs under control. And while they're at it, the city's going to install conduit and fiber to allow broadband internet to better reach the surrounding communities too. Talk about a win-win-win. It addresses so many shared priorities. Sustainability and equity, which we are directly considering in this program, are going to be addressed here. And this is a shining example of something that we're doing across the country, in rural areas and cities alike, making sure that people can see benefits from that improved infrastructure. I'll give you just a handful of examples. I won't do all 166 with you, but just to give you a sense of the range of what we can do with this funding. In Louisiana, we're helping to replace a dilapidated pontoon bridge with a new one that'll cut the travel distance in half for 2 communities and improve access to the jobs that residents rely on in industry there. In Berlin, New Hampshire, a community where their plan for their future, their economy centers on downtown, they have an issue, not a big one around these parts, with the snowfall, over 7 feet of snow coming a year. We're helping them recycle the excess heat coming out of a nearby biomass power plant, pump it under the streets and sidewalks to help keep them snow-free so that people can navigate downtown and boost the economy. In rural Washington state, there's a ferry that's the only way to access Looming Island. It's generations old, with significant downtime and even damage to passenger cars. We're going to help them replace it with a new electric battery hybrid ferry. And a little closer to here in La Paz County, supporting the Colorado River Indian tribes to fix an old, vital section of Mojave Road, which is currently dangerous for drivers. And in Phoenix, later on today, we'll be celebrating the construction of a bicycle and pedestrian bridge across the Rio Salado River to give residents of South Phoenix a safe, convenient way to get to jobs, school, everything else they need to do. So that's just to give you a sense of just a handful of some of the awards. And just so you have a sense of how competitive the application here was, we still had about $6 of application for every $1 we were able to give out. But that is dramatically more funding than we've had in the past. And this is one of just dozens of programs funded by this infrastructure law that we're using to modernize roads and bridges, ports and airports, transit, rail, everything you can think of, for helping people better connect to the places, the people, and the things that they need. So again, I want to thank Senator Kelly for helping to pass the law that made this possible. And I want to thank the senators, representative, the mayor, the people of Tucson for your vision that we are proud now to be part of. Congratulations once again for putting together such a great, strong, competitive program. And of course, as a former mayor, the one thing I love even more than a groundbreaking or a grand announcement is a ribbon cutting. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing gets completed and being able to celebrate with you. Thanks again and congratulations.
I was going to call you mayor. Once a mayor, always a mayor.
Thank you, thank you.
I hope so. I think we have time for a little bit of questions. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Two-part questions. One is, you announced recently that you're going to slate about $1 billion to address racial inequities in the transportation system. Is any of that going to Arizona specifically? And the second part is, when you look at the infrastructure bill that we've been mentioning past last year, $1 billion plus, the overwhelming majority of that, it goes to highways and roads. And I understand that those are needed and they're in disrepair, but when you look at long-term sustainability in terms of climate change, and can you put forth a maybe more radical vision where you invest more in public transportation and in other forms of getting around besides just individual automobiles?
Well, it's one of the reasons we're proud to be undertaking the strongest federal investment in public transit in American history through the infrastructure law. We really seek to make it across every mode of transportation. We need more robust transit. That makes everyone better off from a climate perspective. It even benefits the people who don't use it because it means less congestion on the roads for the people who are driving. And so it makes all the sense in the world to have strong transit. We celebrated the transit vision here in Phoenix last time I was in the state, and we'll continue to do so. We also, of course, need good roads. I mean, if you're driving a car, it needs to be safe, it needs to be convenient, but there's also more to roads than just pushing through as many vehicles as you can as quickly as possible. That's why, I thought the mayor said it well. We're not just replacing infrastructure from the 1960s. We're modernizing the thinking of the 1960s that went into a lot of this construction. And that's why when you do see us funding a road project or a highway project, often it will include, as this one will, a vision for active transportation, making it safer and easier for bicycles and for pedestrians as part of that. And again, we think that's got an economic benefit, an equity benefit, and of course an environmental benefit when we do it right. Yeah, that's right. Low-income families spend up to 40% of their household budgets on housing and transportation combined. They can't afford to think about housing and transportation as separate matters. And too often across America, we see people either living in a place they can't afford so they can get to work, or being impossibly far away from work so they can be in a place they can afford. We can do something about that by closer connection between our transportation and housing strategies. We're working with Secretary Fudge and her department on that. We're working with local communities on that. And part of how applications stand out is when they show, as this one did, that the applicant is considering affordability and the impact on disadvantaged communities, helping them get to where they need to be. It unlocks a better future for people who have been historically excluded in the past.
Of all the projects in contention, how and why did this project?
Well, like I said, this is a very competitive round. We had $2.2 billion to give out, roughly $13 billion in applications coming from more than 900 different locations. The applications that stood out were ones that met a clear need and that brought benefits on multiple fronts. For example, a stronger economy, and environmental benefit, and jobs advantages, and often an equity concern being addressed all at the same time. Another thing that's compelling here is the state of the existing infrastructure. Again, when you have a bridge so compromised that larger vehicles can't even use it, that is creating ripple effects throughout the transportation system here, which means there's an outsized benefit to doing something about it. And we're also impressed by the local commitment that there was to getting this done, and the fact that while we're coming in with this major piece of federal funding, that is meeting funding that has been raised locally in order to make sure that the project succeeds.
Several of you talked about it being pedestrian friendly, neighborhood friendly, etc. I don't know how you're going to square the circle of making it a 6-lane road, but also make it more friendly to pedestrians and even neighborhood. Seems like that width would inherently make it more unfriendly. How are you going to do that?
I might invite the mayor to speak a little more about the details for the vision.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Secretary. We are making this bridge pedestrian and bicycle friendly, and so because we need this infrastructure on 22nd Street and the bridge are major connectors, east-west connectors, and so what we're trying to do is one, create mobility and different mobility besides vehicles. Being able to put the transit system back on 22nd Street that could move through the bridge, and of course have safe pedestrian and bicyclist connections. That will remove trucks from and Suntran buses from going into the neighborhoods, as the Secretary mentioned, and make the life of our community, the surrounding neighborhoods, a little bit more livable. And of course, because ambulances and fire trucks could not go over the bridge, the time to get to the neighborhoods, especially the disadvantaged neighborhoods surrounding to the south and east of the bridge, making those times much shorter. And so all in all, as the Secretary said, it untangles a lot of concerns that because the bridge is so unsafe, it caused.
Is $25 million going to pay for the whole thing, or do we have to?
No, $25 million is a federal match to funds that both Pima County through bonds and the city of Tucson and the RTA have cobbled together. We are hoping that at the beginning of calendar year 2023, we will start with construction and tearing down the old bridge. Other than that, you would have to ask our engineers and our Department of Transportation and Mobility Director all of the logistics that go. My part of working with our senator and Secretary Buttigieg has been done, but now it's time for our experts, engineering experts, to come in and start the project.
Well, I mean, I think what's important here is that we had a safety, mobility, a transportation issue that's been a problem for 15 years. And this infrastructure bill was passed, I think it was about a year ago. Today, it's pretty close to a year, so these things take time. I imagine folks in, Tucson businesses, people in this community, folks that use this transportation corridor, it's going to be important to them. It's also important to our economy. But I'd say more than that, when you have kids that have to spend, an extra 30 minutes on a school bus each way, and ambulances can't get to certain areas directly here in our community, that's a big problem. And, this project's going to solve that problem. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.